Good evening. Happy Sunday, book club. I don't know about y'all, but I get excited about this book club. It's always fun to go through everything. And when you reread it now, knowing more and more, it all just hits it's different now, isn't it? Hey, Claudia, welcome. Food truck. Excited you're here. And hope y'all have had a good one. It was hot here. I actually attempted to get in our pool. Our heater is broken, so it's pretty cold, but it was really hot outside. What a week. Corey, Alec, Murdoch. I think that's how we're supposed to pronounce it. How does that all happen in one day? So we are on chapter 6. We're about done with the book, which is kind of making me sad, but Claudia, happy you're here. John Smith and Marcia. Oh, Carla, I'm glad you're enjoying it too. Oh, I thought maybe Carl was here. No. Millie, it's so good to see you. Y'all, we all just need to give Millie a hand. Let me just tell y'all. She's like new to the YouTube gang, like only a few months ago? She's like a pro. I do want to tell you, Millie. So sometimes when you see a premiere, I'll see you comment, is this live? What's going on? So premieres are like videos that we can pre-build and we can set them to premiere at a certain time. So sometimes, yes, I will be live in the chat, but it's not a live like this, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it. Probably was terrible explanation. Linda, it's good to see you. War Eagle friend. Coercive control is a crime. I love that name. And let's see. Is there anyone else that's actually reading this along with me? I know a lot of y'all have already read it. So, Rebecca, good to see you. How's Tallahassee? What's going on down there? Oh, by the way, last week we all talked about Patty, and we were going to nominate her for the billboard, and she wanted me to tell y'all, or she just told me, she's like, no, waste of time, waste of money. And she said we are better to post it in her Tallahassee Facebook group. So we can all talk about that. When I saw your name, Patty DeAngelis, that made me think of Patty. And Carrie, good to see you. So I'm Leslie B, and this is True Crime in a Minute with Leslie B. It's kind of been an evolving brand, if you will, but it's fun. So I've been posting a lot of shorts. That's originally how I got my start here on YouTube. Right before Donna Adelson's trial, I was making short videos and I just kept posting them. And next thing you know, I was like, okay, maybe I'll try a longer video. Maybe I'll try and go live. And here we are. And then somebody that is an unindicted co-conspirator didn't like a lot of my videos. So anyhow, some things happened, but I unfortunately deleted a lot of them. I mean, I had over 800, I think, at one point. I think I deleted like 200, maybe even more. It might have been 400, y'all. It was a lot. I mean, I had a lot of time in there, and I deleted them, and it really screwed my algorithm up. Like, it just wasn't getting out there, like the growth, and I was losing things. So I've been working with some social media specialists and how to overcome it. So y'all will be seeing me posting a lot of shorts, and that's what I'm doing to retrain the YouTube algorithm. So if that ever happens to anybody, or you decide, oh, I don't want this video, don't do what I did and make it and delete it. Just make it private, because then the data still stays within YouTube. So there you go. I've just taught y'all something new. And thanks, Millie. I agree. Yes. If y'all don't mind hitting like, love it. Subscribe, would love it. Yeah, we love everybody. We have a friendly chat. Christina, who is the designer of all these great merchandise. This says True, and it has a clock on the back, like True Crime in a Minute and Truth. Florida Gulf Coast. Juliet. Y'all, Juliet leaves some really good, deep comments. Y'all need to be reading her comments. Good to see you here for today. Oh, Sidebar Snoop. Awesome. Sidebar Snoop's got lots of information. Also, real quick before we jump in, the Unveiling the book by Ruth Markel, which is what our book club is. Mine is a hardback cover. They don't print those anymore. So now if you order it on Amazon, it's just a paperback. But I prefer a hardcover book. I know that's old school, but that's just how I am. I think paperbacks remind me of school. I think that's what it is. Like all the crap we had to read and write essays. So if you want a hard cover, I did contact Ruth Markel and I got another one and she signed it and she wrote a really nice note in it. So she has to ship it from Canada, so it's a little more expensive. And some of you have reached out. So if you want one, what she's actually going to do, she's going to have me send your name and address so that she can send it directly so that she can write you a message. I think it comes out to like $48 with the Canada or Canadian tariff and all that. So just letting y'all know if that's what you want, do that. You can send me an email. It's truecrimeinaminute@gmail.com. And I will send it to her. Oh, Millie, you're not an old lady. Good to see you, Carrie. And yes, I am on countdown for CrimeCon. So last year it was in September and this year it's in May, but I feel like it rotates because the year before last year, in 2024, it was in Nashville and we were out of town. So I didn't get to go, but it was in May. And then it was in September this past year in Colorado. And then this year it's Vegas in May. So yes. And I'm so excited to go. I was so nervous last year in September. I only went for a day and I went by myself. I mean, my husband and I were already out there on a trip and I had a great time. I think it was because I had no expectations, but it's going to be fun. It'll be different because I'm staying in the hotel and all those things. So it is May 29th through May 31st. And so next weekend's Memorial Weekend. So then it's the next weekend. But yeah, we leave not this coming week, but the next. So I'm going to take some time off work. I'm just working 4 days this week. And then I'm off until like the first week of June. And I've got some little projects I'm working on. So John Smith, I saw you in Josh Ritter's chat and I was excited. Oh, thanks, Course of Control. It was crime. Yeah, it was like pretty damning what it did to my my channel. I hate to admit it. Like I didn't want to say stuff, but I was on a really good trajectory. And it's not like I'm trying to be, Court TV or Emily Baker or something. I'm just it's fun. I like challenges. I like to grow. I'm a sales director. And I really screwed up when I did that. But anyway, lesson learned. No big deal, right? I've learned something. So yeah, I'm back in growing thanks to Corey and Alec Murdoch. Christina, I agree. Hardcover is the best. Sidebar Snoop. Yes, I knew you had sent me an email about it, but I thought you'd be really excited with that news. Yes, Linda, I will. I'll get a pic. I had one with Josh Ritter and Tiffany Ritter and Kaylin last year. I posted it. And yes, I cannot wait to see Kathy with Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. And what's going to be funny is, of course, my husband's going with me. And he's not going to like, the crime con itself, but we're staying at Caesars where it is. And it'll be funny when I'm like, oh my God. And he'll be like, stop. Oh my God, what are you doing? But Rebecca, what's the sad face? Is that about about my channel? Maybe, yeah, Ritter. Carrie, you're in Vegas? Well, come on over to the Caesars. But we're going to be there a little bit before and after. So email me. I want to do some different things. We go to Vegas a lot. I mean, I've done all the typical strip stuff, but on the strip, not strip club. And I want to do some different things. Yeah. Hit that like button like a witch's face. All right. Are y'all ready? Let's get started. We're going to start with, so this is chapter 7. No, 6, sorry. Trial Life in Tallahassee. So, yeah, Carrie, it would be. Send it to me, I'm serious. I met Neverly Darlin in Vegas in December. She can tell you that. We, um, we met at the Paris Hotel, and Riding Shotgun had sent me, like, a super chat, and we bought lattes with it, and Neverly and I sat in front of slot machines talking Adelsons for 2 hours. It was so fun. And it was just cool to be like, "Okay, there are real people. We're not all crazy like my husband thinks." All right, trial life in Tallahassee. So this was the first trial, 2019. Judge Hankinson. So if you're in the book, well, the hardcover, see, that's the thing. The paperback would be a different page number, but it's 124. It's where we're starting. And Ruth just talks about how there was just so much energy building up to this. It's a lot of like hurry up and wait, as you could probably imagine. I mean, the subtitle of this book is A Mother's Reflection on Murder, Grief, and Trial Life. She says Judge Hankinson told the potential jurors during the jury selection that this case would last about 4 weeks, that they would not be sequestered. She said, I watched Judge Hankinson's communications with the attorneys, witnesses, and jury, along with relevant sidebars, rulings on evidence, and verdicts on contempt of court with interest. I mean, just think about it. This was the very first trial. You probably wouldn't even know, like, I mean, I can't even fathom what their emotions were. She said, we were given the roster of witnesses by Helene Potluck. So that was their victim advocate through the state attorney's office. So it was that Sarah Latour that we saw with Detective Isom. And then once they arrested people, there was, an indictment for a trial. That's when it gets transferred to the state attorney's office. Sidebar Snoop. I'm that person who can't wait for something to be announced. I did this deep dive with AI and research to predict where next CrimeCon is based on history in large hotel contracts. Orlando. That is crazy, sidebar Snoop, because Grish had messaged me. He's like, are you going to CrimeCon? I said, yeah. He's not going. He's like, oh, I want to go next year. And I said, my bet is it'll be on the East Coast, probably in Florida, because it just seems like it changes around. So very good, sidebar Snoop. I think that's a good one. So they'll announce it at CrimeCon. Armand, imagine how shocked Ruth would have been seeing evidence come out at the trials. Exactly. She said they were really good about giving her that roster because she does not like to be in there. And we know that if we've watched the different trials, she does not like to be in the courtroom when they start showing the images of Dan shot. Shelly and Phil will stay in there, but she chooses to not be there. So they always give her a heads up as to when that is coming. She says, I stayed in the hotel to avoid the horrid details of the first hours after the murder, but Phil and Shelly attended. She also said they learned that you're being watched, right? People know you're the family when you're in there in the courtroom. She says every gesture, comment, and facial expression you make as the family of the victim in court is scrutinized. You learn to avoid mistakes and to use the attention to your best advantage. Abe Henning, my quote, murder coach, gave us the following advice. And just a reminder, so that was Wendi talks about someone, Matt Price, who is one of Dan's really good friends. And Matt it was a brother-in-law that was murdered. Yeah. Well, we're all guessing Orlando. We don't know for sure, but I think that is a really, 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 really good guess. But Abe, he had been through prosecution and all this because it was the same kind of thing where his son was killed by the ex-in-laws. By the way, you may not think it is important for you to sit in the front row of the visitors gallery. It is not a waste of time. You have to be there since the members of the jury expect you there and indeed want to see that you care as much as they do. Remember, They are making less than minimum wage to sit there. So I thought that was great advice from him. So yeah, he gave him advice on where to sit. And Ruth says that based on how they have the courtroom 3G in Tallahassee, we were advised to sit close to the front of the room, but could only be in the fourth row behind the prosecutor's table, as the media took up the first three rows. We told several reporters that we would speak with them once the trial was over, so they were not chasing us during the trial. Then she says, we also came to understand how and when to react to evidence presented in court because the jury wanted to see how the trial was affecting us. We were very fortunate to have the support of our friends. So they had different friends there, some that were friends with Dan, some that were friends with Phil. And they said sometimes they would sit with them, but at other times they would sit in other areas of the courtroom so that they could watch the jury. And then at the end of the day, they would give the family kind of a breakdown on what they thought. They would debrief them on their opinions at the end of each day. So then, let me see, let me read the comments. Hey, Miss Poppers. Yeah, Patty, fingers crossed. That'd be fun. Miss Poffles. What did I say? Poffers. Sorry about that. Rosie, happy Sunday. Yes. Hey, Sir Kedrick. Good to see you. Yeah, please hit the like button. I appreciate it. Ruth says, we discovered what not to say at the trial, even just in passing. We learned this lesson the hard way. When one reporter asked Shelley her opinion about attending court during the high holy days, and she answered that it was hard to be there on Yom Kippur and that she wished the trial could have been suspended for that day, as the judge had been previously announced that it would be. This simple remark led to several stories on the local news reporting that comment. So again, just be smart. She said they would bring the blankets in order to stay warm because that courtroom was kept very, very cold. We knew to avoid eating from vending machines, as nutritious meals would give us strength for the hard days in which we had to face the accused killers of our son, as well as a number of hostile witnesses who appeared to bolster their defense. Wink, wink. It was a surreal experience to see Garcia dressed in a suit, or as Rivera said, in a tux, isn't that what he called it? And Magbanua wearing professional-looking outfit with glasses. That would totally tick me off. I thought this was interesting, so tell me who y'all think of when I read this. As the testimony in court took several unexpected twists, I had more questions than answers. I could not believe that so many answers from certain witnesses were incomplete and untrue. Patty says, but in Charlie's trial, Wendi and her entourage walked in and sat in front of the Markels. I do remember that. Yes, John, thank you, everybody, for hitting like and subscribe. I appreciate it. So we continue on. We're on page 126. She said on the prior occasions, Magbanua had been offered an immunity deal in exchange for information, but she turned it down. This surprised many, as Magbanua and Garcia had young children, and it was assumed that she would not want to risk a jail term. This added to our suspicions about who was paying for Magbanua's legal fees. Yep. And then we found out too that Magbanua and Garcia originally had court-appointed defenders, and then they withdrew because of possible connections with Dan. And so then they got private attorneys, which I don't know how you do that, because to get a public defender, don't you have to be indigent? And then all of a sudden they had money? Strange. She said another bizarre strand of inquiry arose from an earlier finding that Katherine's sister-in-law, Samantha Magbanua, embezzled money from her job at an accounting firm, parking more than $600,000 with a Miami spiritual healer. In some of Samantha's court documents, Dan's murder case was mentioned, including reference to how Samantha said she had been aiding Katherine with legal fees. So, oh, what a tangled web we weave, right? Yep. Yeah, Patty N is the former Adelson employee. Hey, Fredsy. Sidebar Snoop. My personal opinion, I hope I don't get sued. Rash Bomb is dirtier than Donna, if possible. Fredsy asks, are they waiting for Charlie's appeal to be over to arrest Wendi? I don't think so. But I do have a thought on something. I'm going to write it down because I don't want to go there quite yet. I want to stay on point. So I'm writing it down because in 10 minutes I'll be like, oh crap, what was it? Patty N says, hey John, yeah, I took a little break. I'm ready to return. We're ready. I'm going to sing a song about John Lauro. He's on my naughty list since he bullied content creators. Well, we are here for it. We love some good songs. We're so happy you're here. Well, and Andrew is here. The crimesters. We're so happy. All right. So we talked about Magbanua and the $600,000 from her sister-in-law. So her sister-in-law is still in prison. I think she gets out in a couple years, but I don't know when. Then this part was interesting. Ruth says, Shelley, Phil, and I were ready to read our victim impact statements aloud. But at the last minute, we were told that the judge only wanted to hear one of our statements, which I delivered. And we've played that twice now on previous book clubs. So I'm not going to do it tonight. She says, I was disappointed that our hard work had been put aside for the sake of expediency. That is unfortunate, isn't it? All right. Then she says, at the end of the trial, of course, they had the same jury for both Garcia and for Katie. And she talks about like how interesting that is, right? Because Katie's defense is basically saying what Sigfredo did, and Sigfredo's saying something else, but that would just be awkward to be tried together. But she said that the jury was allowed to ask questions. So I think it's up to the judge. And Judge Hankinson does allow the jury or the jurors to ask questions. Even like when witnesses are on the stand, they send a piece of paper. And she said that during the deliberations, jurors can ask for a meeting with the judge to clarify some issue. The jury asked repeated questions about the judge's instructions, especially this explanation of Magbanua's role, whether she should be defined as a principal of the crime or a participant in the crime. As the jury sent out its request, there were signs that deliberations might be contentious, and it appeared that they were having trouble coming together in their opinions about her. In the end, as we know, Garcia was found guilty of murder, but it was a mistrial for Magbanua. She says they polled after the verdict, and it appeared that 2 of the jurors were confused by the judge's instructions and thought they could not convict Magbanua under the guidance they were given. 10 out of the 12-person panel voted to convict her. She says Magbanua and her lawyer, Tara Kawas, were both in tears after the verdict, which we have seen. Wendi. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. All right. So then she talks about how from May 2016, when Sigfredo was arrested, until September of 2019, when this trial started, She said it was a long haul, many delays until justice was on the horizon. We wrestled with the prosecutor's decision to seek the death penalty for Dan's killers, even though our son was vehemently opposed to the practice. So Dan was very against the death penalty, was very against it. On the advice of Gibson Dunn attorneys, so that's their law firm that was representing them, who wanted to seek the harshest possible punishment as a negotiating tool, the prosecutor had pressed for the death penalty for the killers. We felt the irony of this considering Dan's opposition to such sentencing. However, I was relieved that all three of us were invited to read our respective statements during the death penalty phase of the trial. When the jury handed Garcia a sentence of life in prison and not the death penalty, I was secretly comforted. It is what Dan would have wanted. She said Garcia went to prison serving his life sentence, and Rivera went back to federal prison. But their newest and most unexpected dilemma was the mistrial of Magbanua. All right. She said after that, it felt like justice just felt frozen in time. I thought that was a great description. She said, when we came out of the courtroom, I kept my promise because she'd been telling the reporters, we'll speak at the end of this. We respect the process. There is a lot more to be done, and we are looking forward and hoping it will be done soon. We want to thank all of the law enforcement and the state attorney's office. She was talking about Garcia's lawyer, Saam Zangeneh. I think I misspelled it on my slide here, but it's Zangeneh, Z-A. Garcia was, quote, still numb from the conviction and talked about the appeal process. He said, in a death penalty case, when you get a guilty on first-degree murder, that's it. Your life is over. You're either going to die of natural causes in a maximum security prison, or you're going to die on death row as a result of lethal injection. He also mentioned that Garcia did not take the stand because he, quote, didn't want to hurt Katie. He was very concerned about his testimony hurting or implicating Katie. But that's not all, Zangeneh said after the trial, as well in media interviews down the road, which we did watch one of those. God, it's been a while, but maybe I can find it in a minute. He alluded to members of the Adelson family, saying that at least 3 others should be, quote, quaking in their boots. When asked about this later, he affirmed that the 3 he was referring to were Donna, Charlie, and Wendi. Zangeneh made it clear that Garcia was opting not to cooperate based on what he believed was best for Magbanua. And she says that's a generous act considering that her defense was complicit in the attack on Garcia for being guilty. So I thought that was interesting. So just keep in mind, Zangeneh, he has seen, I totally butchered that name on that slide. He's seen all the discovery. Sir Tedrick Walker, I agree. LWOP, life without parole, is a worse sentence to me. Hot, crappy prisons in Florida. It shouldn't be a joyride. I agree. And also, when you get on death row, you get like this unlimited amount of resources for appeals. Sidebar Snoop. The jury instructions are always heavily in the defendant's favor. True. On one hand, I get it, but victims need to get equal representation. Our system is good, but could be better. Yep. Patty N. I wanted the death penalty for the Adelsons, but after I watched some videos, I think his name is Red Zone, I realized life in prison is a worse punishment. I agree. I mean, to me, I would be like, yeah, give me that lethal injection. And I think I told y'all on a recent live that I had to be in a hospital because I had a complicated pregnancy with my second, and I was on bed rest in the hospital for over 6 weeks. And I had always been a death penalty person. And after that, about day 3, and that's a hospital room, like, it's not a jail cell. Those walls were closing in. It would be awful. So, I agree. Yes, exactly, John Smith. Bad part about the death penalty is the endless appeals for 20 to 30 years before the sentence is carried out. I know, and don't y'all remember? So, I'm in Tennessee, and we have the death penalty, and it's, like, always, like, up until the ninth, whatever hour. I mean, they would, like, feed the person their last meal, and then it would get called off, some note from the governor's office. Oh, I like that. Sir Tedrick Walker opinion says, I vote for Wendi to get arrested July 18th, 2026. I like it. Nice date. I agree. All right. Back to the book. She said, Catherine's lawyers were clear during the trial, telling the jury that they believed Garcia had committed the murder, somehow having communication directly with Charlie Adelson to do so. The dynamics between co-defendants are often complicated, and we learned that this is even more the case when the co-defendants have romantic connections and children together. We had prepared post-trial family statements for convictions and for acquittals, but we did not prepare for a mistrial. She said social media coverage of the verdicts blew up, as did the online commentary on sites such as YouTube and Court TV. We participated in a series of media interviews, still carefully keeping the focus solely on our forced separation from our grandchildren. The jury participated in post-trial interviews as well, and members revealed more about the split vote for Magbanua. It gave us hope that, with some clarification, there was a good possibility that a retrial would bring a better outcome for us. The main question still stood: when will there be more arrests? And that is what we're still asking for today. Rebecca, death penalty is so expensive. Yeah, probably because of all the legal resources, and then they're on death row with all the death row inmates, I'm sure security, everything. Sidebar Snoop, you're right. The death penalty is brutal on the victims. They have to live through the crime every time the multitude applies come up for decades. Yep, you're right. Patty Ann. Rebecca, I just realized you're Rebecca. Yes, you're my Patty. The elevator lady. Yeah, multiple appeals. Okay. I was like, I'm going to have to look that word up. I don't know about this multitude applies. All right. So then it was October 12th, 2019. It was Ruth's birthday, her 75th, and they were in Tallahassee. She said, my thoughts were already on the reality that I was in Florida and my American grandchildren, Benjamin and Lincoln, lived in that state. We were still cut off from seeing the grandchildren, even after we clarified with a statement from JAFCO that we had no intention of taking the children away from Wendi. This was a day after, oh, wait, what did she say? Wait. Oh, the birthday. Okay. Was a day after the verdicts, but 2 days before sentencing. Garcia's death penalty trial would occur on Monday. So they spent that weekend enjoying her birthday and just doing some things. They had a Sunday brunch. And then she said she had an unexpected meeting. So whenever she visits places, she says she always likes to go to the local hair salons and get her hair done. And she knew a lot of different places in Tallahassee from when she would come and visit Dan. So for her birthday plan was to go and get her hair done. So she went to Fuel Salon, and y'all can tell us if that is still there. I don't know, Rebecca. I'm reading. Hey, Wendy Joan, good to see you. Yeah, Sir Tedrick says, I hope there's an investigation on who paid for the financially poor Katie Magbanua and Sigfredo Garcia. Right, and they've brought that up before. Georgia Cappleman did, and then I don't remember. Was it Hankinson or Wheeler? I guess it would have been Hankinson was okay with it. I don't know. Yeah, Rebecca was the lady on the elevator, y'all, when Rashbaum was quitting Donna as counsel, and so Rebecca heard because she was on the elevator with Rashbaum, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna quit, or I'm gonna step aside," or I don't know what the formal language is. Before Rashbaum went in there and did so to Judge Everett and Donna wailing. Sir Tedrick, Wendy Fibbers, silly name for her when she scares me. Just can't help being cruel, calculating, and cold. Yeah. All right. So she walks into the fuel salon, and there was a young lady who jumped out of her seat and said, "Can I give you a hug?" She introduced herself as Dan's acquaintance and member of Tallahassee's small Jewish community, and she recognized me from the trial coverage. "Can we meet for coffee?" she asked. I said, "Sure, I am free, and I have no specific obligations this morning." It turned out that Karen Halperin Cyphers would be one of the best gifts of my life, and not just my 75th birthday gift. So that's the lady who then worked on the alienation, the grandparent visitation bill. So she said she asked her, "What can I do for you?" And Ruth says, I blurted out, "Grandparent alienation." She said, "Done." Ruth said, "I was always too preoccupied with my rights and experiences as a homicide victim, as there was a lot to learn about the American criminal justice system, let alone the stress of searching for justice. Advancing a bill just seemed impossible." So Karen had a lot of connections. She'd been working in the Florida political process for 17 years. She was in staff at the Florida Senate and House, staff in the governor's office, contributor to Florida's political blog, private consulting as a partner in PR and public affairs firm. And she had a doctoral degree in public policy, relationships in Tallahassee, and a passion for justice. Karen began mobilizing her networks to find a path forward. Sarah, did Rashbaum have a duty to alert authorities that Donna was fleeing to Vietnam? Good question. I mean, Donna says on the call, what Dan says, you can try, but I don't know. Is that considered privilege? Of course, at the time, I mean, Dan was still Charlie's attorney. It's all convoluted. Sidebar Snoop, dream team. Put Wendy on the top bunk and Corey on the bottom bunk. And you know what I was thinking after all this Murdoch overturned stuff, listening to his jail calls? Murdoch and Charlie together, they talk nonstop about themselves. Sir Tedrick says, Wendy is so snarky. She is awful in all trials. She has no idea she's going to reap everything she's sown. Yeah. She says, by the start of 2020, Karen had organized all the moving parts. She had connected with Senator Jeff Brandeis. She joined forces with Jason Solomon, founder of Justice for Dan. And in 2020, the grandparent bill by Senator Brandeis was heard in one committee and passed unanimously. And she prepared a video statement for the hearing. Following the horrible murder of our son, Dan Markel, our goal has been to embrace his children, our grandchildren, and preserve the loving relationship they have had with us and the rest of their father's family. So they had a lot of people really working for them. Somebody did a photo Jeremy Cohen did a photo presentation of Dan and his family, also had a great speech. Karen helped line us up with exceptional lobbyists, Jeff Johnston and Amanda Stewart, who agreed to take our advocacy efforts free of charge, which is big. She said in 2021, even during the height of COVID-19, this team was able to secure a bill workshop in the Senate led by committee chair Senator Lauren Book. Karen's support to develop legislation for grandparents to visit will help children subjected to experiences related to violent crime. She says, however, we miss Lincoln and Benjamin terribly, and we will never give up on them. Dan would have wanted us to fight on. I love that. Then she talks about on the day of the death penalty phase of the trial, Georgia opened with telling the jurors that Dan's murder was reckless and callous. Kappelman told jurors that Garcia and Rivera had a chance to walk away from a murder, but they didn't. And Dan Markel didn't get a choice in any of this. Instead, she said, his death was the product of a cold, calculated act driven out of pure greed. Yeah, it was great. She had local help. I agree. Keller, if that's a real picture of Jill Estrada. Good question. Yeah. John Smith, I started to write a song about squeezing on Jack Campbell's testicles, then remembered he doesn't have any. Oh my gosh, y'all are funny. All right. So then she talks about people that were witnesses. So somebody, a psychologist, talked about Garcia's childhood mental health. The jury, was 10 women, 2 men. They deliberated for 40 minutes and returned their decision against the death penalty for Garcia. And as soon as Garcia was sentenced, Kappelman said, we will be going forward with Magbanua's case. The state will retry Miss Magbanua. So I love that. So then they had a statement ready. So they really didn't want to talk about anything until all the sentencing and everything was done. So then they read the statement to the media. Sir Tedrick Walker says, the Markels have so many who fight on with them by keeping this horror murder front and center and many new thoughts and evidence these podcasters bring about. Yeah, true. So this was their statement after the mistrial and Garcia sentenced to life. Danny was brutally murdered in cold blood. After waiting 5 long years, we are relieved that at least one of the people responsible for Danny's murder was convicted today, and we are grateful for the tireless efforts of law enforcement and the state attorney's office. Yet justice was only partially served today. In light of the mountain of evidence presented by the state attorney's office, we are confident Katherine Magbanua will be retried and convicted. As all of us who followed this trial know, there is more work to be done to ensure that everyone responsible for Danny's murder is held accountable. Until that day comes, we will continue to fight for complete justice and to be reunited with our grandchildren, Danny's 2 young boys, whom we love and miss dearly. Powerful. Then I loved this at the end. She says at the end of this little paragraph, she said, while we were satisfied with Garcia's verdict, my family and I were dismayed by the fact that Magbanua would get a second chance in court. A new trial date for her case was scheduled for April 2020, and I wondered how many more times I would have to recount the story of Dan's murder and what it meant for us. She says, our final thoughts shared by others were gratitude for everyone's support and that the ordeal was far from over. We held on to the hope that ultimately everyone who was responsible for Dan's killing would be brought to justice. That is right. Yeah. Thank you. Working hard to keep it forefront. I know. I'm just like, I can't help. I'm just addicted to this whole case. Oh. Sidebar Snape. We need a Wizard of Oz Cowardly Lion song for Jack Campbell. We will keep on keeping on till Dan Markel has complete justice, which means 2 more arrests. Yeah. Yeah, Sarah says, "Justice for Dan Markel is a global movement." It is. I mean, he's lived in so many different countries and things. All right, so then Ruth goes into the, witnesses and the roster of them, and she kinda goes through and just shares her thoughts on each of them, which I thought was really neat to read. So she talks about James Geiger. She said, "One of the most important witnesses in the investigation and trial was James Geiger, Dan's next-door neighbor. The role he played was major, as he heard the shots and saw what appeared to be a light-colored Prius leaving Dan's driveway. And it was also him that was frustrated with how long it took for EMS to get there." She said, "When I returned to Tallahassee in September 2014," so we know Dan was killed in July 2014. "In September of 2014 for the FSU memorial, I knocked on James's door to thank him, but he was not home. After that visit, I wrote him a thank you letter, but I did not hear back from him until this trial." She said, "On occasion, there's a chance to leave the courtroom between witnesses. And at the 2019 trial, I left the courtroom for a brief moment, and James was in the hallway and recognized me. He acknowledged receiving the letter, and I thanked him again. He turned out to be the main lead to the car and the critical evidence for the investigation. I will never forget his bravery in going over to Dan after that shooting." Oh, yes, y'all can collaborate. Patty and John, sidebar, love it. Yes, Sir Tedrick, so thankful for James Geiger. Absolutely. All right, the next one she has is Stuart Schlazer. So that is who Dan was on the phone with, and she talked about this in an earlier chapter that she had been on the phone with Dan just before the shooting, but was spared those last minutes because Dan was on the call with Stuart Schlazer. "How fortunate I was not to be the person on the other end of the phone when Dan was murdered." She said, "That does not escape me. Many times I think about this unimaginable situation as I could have been the person to hear the shooting." So Stewart said that he was on the phone with Dan, and Dan said there's someone at his home he does not recognize. Right after hearing Dan say this, Stewart heard a loud noise and shallow breathing. He hung up and called 911. I know we had talked about that on a previous book club. Did he also call 911? And he did. Yes, he is a hero for sure. Next witness. Hold on, I gotta let the little Katie in. My puppy. Come on. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Come on. You say hi to everybody? It's Katie. It's a good Katie. All right. I have a kitchen bar stool in here and she sits on a blanket. Okay. So the next one, Craig Isom. She said not only was he the chief investigator in the murder, but he was our lead contact for our family. As I saw him outside the courtroom where the witnesses congregated, I recalled many complex and fond memories. The most troubling memory would be our first encounter with Craig. So that was that weekend that Dan was killed, when they came down and Craig Isom is like, "Hey, does he have a will?" And they're going looking for financial things in the house. She says, on that first day, July 18th, 2014, Craig had a lengthy interview with Wendi, which became highly publicized and elicited many opinions. The interview raised eyebrows, and people's opinions and impressions varied as to how much drama or truth was revealed by her. She said at the time of this trial in 2019, Craig had already retired from the Tallahassee PD. She said, Craig will be forever. Wait. In his testimony, Craig was clear and credible. We will be forever grateful for his commitment. Then Patrick Sanford. Now, this is interesting. She says the FBI has better forensic and technological equipment, as well as available manpower and an international network. At the trial, Patrick testified about the wiretapping and evidence gathered from cooperating witnesses. Then she says, we have not heard the end of what was uncovered during the wiretapping. Now, I understand she's writing this in the 2019 trial. However, I put a big asterisk by that. So y'all can tell me what your thoughts are on that. Let me read it again. We have not heard the end of what was uncovered during the wiretapping. She says, despite much being public record at this point, few have heard the extent of communications between all of the conspirators. So maybe this was before everything was released, but I still think there's more. Oh, I agree. Sidebar Snoop. I think Jeff Lacoste is the most tragic witness. Can you imagine being a witness for 11 years because you happen to date someone for 9 months? Sweet Jesus. No, I cannot. And I say that. I completely agree. She goes on and she says, Patrick Stanford efforts were extensive and thorough. She also thanks Sherry Bennett and all the people that worked with them. She says, on a personal note, Patrick also shared communications with our family, which helped guide us through the criminal maze from the FBI's perspective. So I want to know, how do y'all interpret that? Because at first I'm like, does she mean like, oh, he was emailing and communicating with them? Or is she saying he also shared communications with our family? Like he shared the files of all the wiretaps? Sir Tedrick, there was only one person in Tallahassee who knew Dan's schedule up to the minute via his text sent to Grandma Wendi. John Smith, had it not been for Mr. Geiger, it may have been hours before Dan got help and he saw the Prius. Yeah. Keller, I agree. Great point. The fact that Dan Markel survived 2 gunshot wounds to the head and then he lived for at least 8 hours after tells you whatever was left to him was hanging on to life for the sake of his sons. Yeah. Patty Ann, I agree, sidebar, with one exception, Rob Adelson. My heart broke for him. I agree. Oh, John Smith. Yeah, you said it's hard to pick who is worth Wendi or Corey. So y'all are going to hate it, but I mean, I think it's Corey. I mean, she actually carried it out. Like she did it. Sir Tedrick, lots of, quote, calculating statements in Wendy's interview with Isom. John Smith, you think even more has come out since this book was written? Yes, but this is what I wrote in my notes earlier that I was thinking about. So, we've talked about the joint defense agreement that they all entered into back in 2015 or 2016. So Wendy's attorney, Charlie's attorney, Donna's attorney. So they're all sharing discovery, right? So then when we had trial in 2019, then they got to see everything, right? Don't you think, though, the state would hold back some of the discovery unless they needed it because they wouldn't want to give that joint defense team intel on Wendi? So now that Charlie and Wendi are arrested, those other attorneys and there's other evidence, her attorney wouldn't know about it. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. "Hey," Wendy's real voice. Yeah, that was crazy. Someone's like, "This is not her." I'm like, "Yes, it is." "Oh, hey, truth seeker. Thanks for joining." I know the notifications can be a hit or miss. Marcia, I agree. There has to be more. On Jeff, her ex, I was so happy to hear from you that he is married and has 2 children. It wasn't from me because that's not true. He is not married and does not have 2 children. He struggles. I mean, it's tough. Like, who do you trust? Here for today, I agree. Harvey hasn't gotten enough attention. He had to know the money payments. Absolutely. Rosie. This morning I was saying Corey, Jennifer Soto, Jody, Shannon G, Casey Anthony, Jody, and Hilda, or whatever. The list goes on. Yep. Sir Tedrick Walker. Wendi Fibbers, in my opinion, wasn't expecting the police there or Mr. Geiger. That's why she couldn't help herself. That's a good point. Yeah. Hey, so if you're going to plan that, like, you might not want to be next to a neighbor that's retired. Just saying. But I also think the plan was to do it inside the house. I don't think it was ever supposed to be in the garage. True Seeker. Did anyone see the channel that does statement analysis? He broke down Corey's speech. I don't want to advertise other channels, but it was interesting. Oh yeah, it's Never Truer Word. Is that the one you're talking about? And how Corey is all about Corey. Oh yeah, Sarah Boone, Patty, yes. Yeah, Casey Anthony is evil. Yep, all the Adelsons. Yeah, sidebar Snoop. I don't think defense joint agreements should be a thing. One client, one attorney. Otherwise, it's just ganging up on victims. Great point. Yeah. Looney Tune Boone is my choice for Wendy's cellmate. I mean, that could happen. It could happen. Mr. Geiger was so brave. Oh my God. After hearing shot, just goes over. True. Oh, Veriscope. Yeah. I haven't watched him in a while, but yeah, I need to. I can't keep up anymore. Marcia, you said, I wonder where to hear that. I listen. Moms for Justice and Deep Doves. Yeah. I mean, I chat with somebody who's friends with him. Rosemary. Hi, Leslie. Why do you think they are not waiting until Charlie's appeal is decided? I think they are waiting for that. Agree with you about sharing all the discovery for the previous trial. I just think because Charlie's appeals are still going to go on, y'all, for years. I mean, this is the one about the jury. Okay. So then whenever we get the answer for that, we have no idea. I mean, it could be soon, it could be months. Then the next things they're going to go for is ineffective counsel. And on that one, they might have a shot. So, but then you're going to have to go back to the arguments and then everything. So you're looking at years. Yeah, True Seeker. I enjoy Veriscope, but I haven't watched it lately. But I used to watch it all the time. Oh yeah, Sarah Boone would be awful to have a cell with her. Marcia, I wonder if Charlie would throw his sister under the bus. I don't know. John, Donna is always looking for her next prison daughter. Why not give her the real one? Yeah. All right. So y'all didn't say though, on a personal note, she says Patrick also shared communications with our family, which helped guide us through the criminal maze from the FBI's perspective. I kind of take that as he would email with them, but y'all can tell me what you think. All right. The next one she has is Luis Rivera. So we all know he had a 12-year sentence in a RICO case. She said his testimony was a great source of tension for me. She said his cooperation was significant for Georgia Cappleman. He identified all three defendants. He was the driver, Garcia was the shooter, and Magbanua passed along the payment for those who had hired them. She says, despite all the criticism of his plea bargain deal, Rivera provided key details to the jury and those in attendance at the Tallahassee courthouse. At the trial, Rivera again stated he was the driver on July 18th. It was confirmed by Darren Schwartz that Rivera rented a green Prius in Miami from his company. She talks about the first trip in June, and she said, despite criminal history and gang affiliations, Rivera's testimony did seem forthcoming and honest. He was respectful and seemed comfortable providing every detail that was asked for, and many of the details were corroborated by physical evidence, such as which motel they stayed at, the people they encountered during their time, and the timing of phone calls to and from Garcia and Katie. She said, he testified that Garcia said they were hired by the lady who wanted her kids back. Can y'all imagine what that was like, sitting in the courtroom and them hearing that? John, yeah, Carl seems to think Charlie may win the appeal. Is it this appeal or the next one? Because this one was the jury one, and then the next one is ineffective counsel. Now, I've heard other legal analysts say they should have gone for the ineffective counsel one first because it was the strongest argument. I don't know much about all that. Jody, Suitcase, Sarah, Corey, Wendi. It's like they're missing the human chip. Coercive crime control. That's funny. Sir Tedrick Walker, wouldn't it be great if Charlie and Donna are now working with the prosecutors to take Wendi down? Yeah, I don't think that happened. I mean, they should have done that before their trials. I mean, once you're already sentenced, it's tough. I know there's things they can do. I'm not saying it's impossible, but Donna would never want to let those grandsons down, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But, Rosemary, that to be said, they could be waiting for Charlie's appeals, and that could mean years. I think getting Donna was really, really huge. I mean, I think we all want Wendi, but Rosemary said, I think he was keeping the Markels in the loop as to what was happening. Yeah, Rosemary. Yeah, I think you're right. I wonder if he does see him, John Smith. You said, I bet Charlie is fuming every time he sees news or photos of Wendi free and living large. I mean, we all know they smuggle like cell phones into prison and stuff. I'm curious what he has seen and what he knows. Keller says, maybe Pat Sanford was simply verbally telling Ruth Markel certain information. I believe he would be forgiven by law to send the Markels any evidence to be presented in court. Yeah. Here for today. That one will never happen. Yeah. Rosie says, I can't get over the time without Charlie in the transport van or tennis shoes, no laces, dressed like he was a bum, eating like a bum. I was shocked that they flew him commercial. I mean, someone took that photo of him in the airport. I mean, he had two people with him and they were trying to cover up the handcuffs, but can you imagine being on the airplane and you notice that walking on? I would not like that. Oh, conflicted counsel. Yeah. Sir Tedrick Walker, on Donna's trial, Luis Rivera, one of the hitmen, was asked, who is the lady by Georgia Cappleman? And Luis said, the lady is Wendi. Yup. Cascar. Did Isom believe Jeff? Yeah, I think he took Jeff seriously in March of 2015. But there was a point Hale did those first interviews with Jeff, and he kind of was like, this guy's like a little bit weird. Castigar. Yeah. All right. Next up, Christopher Corbett. She said the cell phone record showed the calls throughout the day of July 18th, 2014, between Garcia, Magbanua, Wendi, Charlie, and others. Those were some of the most compelling evidence and significant revelations. Can you imagine what that must have felt like for them? Then she says, Christopher, talking about Corbett, testified that Wendi was on Trescott Drive, where Dan's home was located, shortly after the murder. So I was re-listening to one of the jail calls when Charlie's going on and on with Donna. She drove by and she's like, well, and she's like, he goes, Mom, they proved it. They have the evidence. She was there. And then Donna just goes, I know. She said, Ruth says, the cell phone evidence exposed the reality that this information is so easily available with the proper expertise, material, and equipment. My thoughts lingered on the slogan, Big Brother is watching you, from George Orwell's novel, 1984, dealing with surveillance and security cameras in a totalitarian society. I know the word, just can't say it. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. Totalitarian. Lord help me. Okay. Jeff Lacoste. Here we go. She says, I was very curious to hear the testimony of Jeffrey Lacoste on day 3. His testimony turned out to be more than intriguing and brought out major contradictions with Wendi's testimony, which had been earlier in the trial. She said, unfortunately for Jeffrey, though, his testimony suggested that he may have been used by Wendi as some sort of foil or patsy in the murder. Jeff reported that Wendi may have done things to make him look suspicious. Ironically, however, it was through Jeffrey's testimony that Wendi started to look more suspicious herself. Sidebar Snoop. I like it. I always predicted May for the month Wendi would be arrested. I have 14 days left. I'm kind of thinking it's not even going to be this year. So I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, Rebecca, I agree. Charlie won't flip while Mom is alive. Truth seeker just couldn't help herself. That's right. Rosie, that picture of Charlie at the airport was especially bad. He probably flew first class. I think they generally take them to the back row. I think. I could be wrong, but I don't know why. Can you imagine walking in the airport, though, when you look and see that? I would have been like, what? Keller, I have been on an airplane with a convict. He was being transported with big guards flanking him. He was shackled, and they were traveling in first class. This was at night. No one else in first class. Oh, okay, but when you were there. Truth Seeker. Oh, she knows George Orwell's 1984. Nice. Yeah, I remember having to read that. I think it was like 9th grade, write an essay on it. Patty Ann. But Rebecca, Donna flipped on Charlie during her trial. Kinda. I hope Charlie will flip on Wendi. And that's kind of what I say when Charlie keeps repeating it on the jail calls. It's his own way of like, wink, wink. John Smith. If I was Charlie, I'd flip in a New York minute on Wendi. It would give me my chance of a little freedom before I die. Rebecca, appeal won't happen. Low bar for ineffective counsel. They can be asleep. Oh, Patty thinks Donna will unalive herself and Charlie will go insane. Truth Seeker, I was taken on a train for 6 hours one time and handcuffed too. You were handcuffed? Tell me more about that. I need you to unpack that for me, please. Rosie Keller, I was on a convict, but they sat him at the end covering his handcuffs with a coat. Uh-huh. Sir Tedrick. Donna also threw Wendi under the bus too. And that includes you too? Anyone. Rosie, right back row. Yeah. Yeah, back row. That's what I had heard. Yeah. I mean, if Charlie flipped, the only thing he could negotiate is a better facility. Yeah. And maybe some imitation lobster. Okay. She said, this was interesting. She said, Jeffrey's testimony opened many questions about how forthright Wendi had been about details, even as small and trivial as one. She talks about when Saam Zangeneh asked, so you knew what a Ferrari was? And Wendi claimed during her testimony she was unaware of the type of car her brother drove, claiming, I drive a minivan. Then she says, Jeffrey's testimony suggested it was hard to believe Wendi wouldn't know what types of cars her brother drove and talked about continually. Mm-hmm. Yep. She says there were many other contradictions between Wendy's and Jeffrey's testimonies. For example, Jeffrey testified to how deeply Wendi wanted to move to South Florida and how upset she had been with the court ruled against her, directly contradicting Wendy's statement at trial that she had been relieved when forced to stay in Tallahassee. So with that, I had to pull that up.
That you did develop a desire to move to South Florida. Did you file a motion to that effect on January 14th, 2013?
That sounds, I did file a motion. I don't remember the exact date,
Okay.
but that sounds about right.
All right. And in that motion, did you make some allegations that Mr. Markel was making things difficult for you at work?
I did.
Okay. And was that motion granted or denied?
That motion was denied.
All right. Denied with prejudice?
I don't remember.
Okay.
If you have it, I'm happy to take a look.
Okay. But in any event, you were not able to move at that time.
I did not move.
And were you upset about being stuck in Tallahassee?
I was relieved.
You were relieved. You wanted to stay in Tallahassee.
I was happy at my job.
I mean, y'all, George is speechless. So I'm just going to bring out my little mouse, my mouse with the matching dress. Let me make the picture bigger so y'all can see it. I'm going to just wear that for the rest of the show here. Let's just watch that again. I was relieved.
And were you upset about being stuck in Tallahassee?
I was relieved.
You were relieved. You wanted to stay in Tallahassee.
I was happy at my job.
Look at her, just that, what I would say is a shit-eating grin. Truth seeker. Approximately in 2000, I moved from Scotland to England, ignoring a court date in England. After debating about flying or train, I went to answer to a non-appearance warrant, drunk behavior. Oh, I see. That sounds awful. Oh, Patty Ann, you said the only reason you thought that with Donna unaliving because she mentioned that. Yeah, but that was going to be with all her pills. I mean, she's not going to have that in jail. I think Donna's really healthy. Hoity Wendi. She's a liar, says here for today. Yes, each trial she has a different demeanor. Yeah, this one she's very cocky. And then the next one she's feisty. That's when Charlie had just been arrested. And then she was very nervous, but also cocky at Charlie's. And then in Donna's, it was like she had their tail tucked in her legs. Hey, Julia, good to see you. I'm just going to play this for another second just because.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you recall when your divorce to Mr. Markel became final?
The summer of 2013.
Okay, July 31st sound about right?
That sounds right.
Okay. Would you consider your divorce with Mr. Markel to be a nasty divorce?
I think most divorces aren't very pleasant.
Okay, but this one was like really unpleasant, right?
I found getting divorced to be unpleasant, yes.
And in the litigation that ensued between the two of you, you guys argued over things as small as a tennis racket. I noticed in one pleading.
I don't remember that.
See, she says, I don't remember that. But in her mom's trial, they ask her the same question. And she says, yes, it was a mistake. I accidentally took his tennis racket. So I guess from 2019 to 2025, like the memory came back. I think at that point, someone, maybe her attorney, was like, hey, listen, cut the BS. Sir Tedrick Walker, how about Wendi playing victim because Dan didn't pay her for half of the Trescott house, so she couldn't buy her house. Then forensic financial expert revealed on witness stand she had plenty of money. Yeah, and she took $300,000 or something or whatever it was in the Charles Schwab account, which, by the way, was Dan's. It was an inheritance, I believe. That's not marital property. Okay, we're almost done, and then I'm going to do one more thing. Okay. She said this about Jeffrey Lacasse. She said, as noted, one of the most important parts of Jeffrey's testimony was what he claims Wendi had told him on July 13th, 2014. She said that Charlie had explored all options to take care of the problem and looked into having Professor Markel killed. All right. So then we get to Wendi. Before I do that, I show something else. Is everybody's blood pressure like getting higher? Because mine does. Just give me a second. Did y'all know there's another murderer named Wendi? So I was just thinking I could just show you a video I made about this Wendi. This is about another Wendi. And then we'll go on and continue with the other Wendi. You know what I'm saying?
Tension in the air so thick it bites. Shadows creeping in under neon lights. Wendi, 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 where'd you go last night? Whispers in the alley, footsteps in the fog. They're painting you the villain, but are they wrong? Wendi, 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 we know you took a life. Your smile cuts deeper than the sharpest knife. Dangerous, dangerous, you light the fuse. Wendi, Wendi, what's the truth? Lipstick smeared like a bloody trail. Secrets locked up in your fingernails. A story buried deep, but the cracks reveal. Wendi, 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 we know you took a life. Your smile cuts deeper than the sharpest knife. Dangerous, dangerous, you light the fuse. truth. The clock's ticking faster, the walls closing in, your mask is slipping, the game's wearing thin, but still you dance, oh you dance in the fire. Wendi, Wendi, what's your desire? Wendi, Wendi.
Yes. So there is a murderer named Wendi, Wendi, May Davidson. She murdered her husband in Texas. She was a veterinarian and she killed him with tranquilizers. So she's got a lot of Corey in her and also, I guess, Barry Morphew. And she is not serving life. She is going to get out. I think she got 25 years. So yes, there is a documentary on YouTube. I would get a copyright strike and they would not let me show the video if I tried it, but y'all should type it in. But Pierce Morgan goes and meets with her. I mean, she's very like sociopath, but she doesn't admit it. She did. What's one of the? Did she do an Alfred plea? I feel like she might have done an Alfred plea. She killed him and then she put the body in a pond and she claimed she just found him dead and didn't know what to do. So then she took him and put him in a pond. So yeah, so anytime y'all want to know about Wendi Davidson, I can play y'all that song. I'm glad that y'all liked it. Hey, Susan. Oh, Sarah, yeah, she refreshed her memory. Oh, Julia, absolutely. I think she wore the same thing the first two trials, so Google searches would look like that single trial. Yeah, which, okay, but the problem is her hair was totally different. Didn't probably know how much this would blow up. Oh, 350,000. Yeah, that's what Wendi took. I mean, so she could have paid cash for the house. We all know that it was a lie. Yeah, perjury. Yeah, Cyborg Snoop. So weird. She doesn't even look like the same person. I agree. John Smith, when Wendi is arrested, it will be like the bar scene in your chat the other day. I'm trying to remember the bar scene in my chat. I don't know. I'll have to. You're so happy she looks like crap. Y'all think they look alike, the two Wendis? Dark eyes, demon eyes. Yeah, Julia, isn't that crazy? There's another Wendi with an eye. Oh, Julia says Wendi became popular from Peter Pan. Yeah, Juliet. Yes, it does. Gives you chills. It's on target. You love it. Well, I'm just saying, So it's under my videos, so y'all can watch it anytime. It's all there. You can learn all about Wendi May Davidson. Yeah, Texas didn't mess around. But there's another YouTuber. She did a show on her. I can't think what her name is. She's really popular though. A bunch of people at CrimeCon were like standing in line for 2 hours to meet her. I don't do that kind of stuff. But Patty, Leslie Lou, Charlie's New Mansion. Yeah. Oh yeah, Julia, the Gearhart tranquilizer injection, propofol, the Michael Jackson stuff. Coercive control is a crime. I agree. You feel bad for June. You know, her Instagram's open. You can follow her. I mean, she posts some funny stuff. Ooh, a cheeseburger sounds good. Oh, thanks, Millie. Oh, do y'all watch Jumpsuit? Pablo? He was talking about what prison will be like for Corey, how she'll be basically on confinement. She won't get Gen Pop for a few years. It's pretty interesting. Rosie says, I want to congratulate Corey on moving into her mansion with room service. Cheesy pasta sounds good. John Smith, she finally made it, Rosie. She probably says, if the folks back home could see me now. It was a short Leslie showing. Oh, Donna's verdict. Yes, that was funny. I'll do that. I'll just do that real quick and then we'll finish this. Sorry. Oh, shoot. I love making the shorts. They're fun. Did y'all see the one of the guy with Donna's water bottle? It made me laugh. Okay, it's being slow. I don't know why it's so slow. Well, oh well. Okay. We'll finish this. All right. So, life of hardship, intertwined. Okay. Relieved. Okay. Then she says, the court offered Wendi a limited immunity deal in which she would testify and could not be prosecuted for any truthful things she said on the stand. That makes me laugh. The prosecutor and state attorney's office needed to show the background for the murder for hire and the significance of Wendi's desire to relocate with her children from Tallahassee to Miami. So that's always been why I've always said they have to have her in the trials, because that's how you admit Donna's emails, which show all the motivation. She talks about how upset Wendi was when she couldn't relocate. Yet, when asked about it on the stand, she had been relieved. Then she says, within days of Dan's murder, Wendi relocated to Miami, just as she had clearly desired to all along. Public opinion was significant and aroused in response to Wendi's claim of being relieved when the court ruled she couldn't move away from Tallahassee. And even a few of her old friends no longer trusted her after this testimony. What do y'all think about that? Who do you think that was? I wish we knew. You wonder if Wendi's punishment is going to be living with her mother and brother locked up. I mean, it's true. That would be rough. Oh, Patty, and I didn't know that. That's why you refer to Wendi as Lovely Wendi. It's a song from Peter Pan. Sir Tedrick Walker, Jumpsuit Pablo. I watched it. Yeah, I like his stuff. He makes me laugh. Yeah, here for today. Back to scrubbing those toilets, Corey. Tedrick. Wendi skipping out on yoga classes. No yoga. Rosie, he's funny. Oh. Wendy doesn't visit Donna, Armand says. Is she afraid jailhouse visits are recorded? I don't think they are. Good question. Yeah, why doesn't she visit her? I know, John. I'm cranking out so much I can't keep up. Oh, thanks, y'all. The Wendi Mae Davidson song is like, I think, some of the best work. Wendy doesn't have Donna around to tell her she's gaining weight. Do y'all remember the podcast, the writing podcast? And Wendy's talking about how wonderful her mom is and how skinny and how she wanted to join Weight Watchers, but they wouldn't let her because she was too thin. It's different now, isn't it? Sir Dedrick Walker, I saw this comment on another video. She's a carby girl in a carby world. Armand, Tamara, and Sarah. Well, Tamara Demko, I think she was done with her. That's a good question. I don't know, actually. And Sarah turned on her when Phil Markel's victim impact statement at Charlie's sentencing. Marcia, the dark hair friend that Dan loved. Yeah. Yeah, who wants to hire her? Julia thinks they're waiting to see if Charlie gets a new trial. Wendi lies. Truth Seeker says, so someone anonymously said something about Wendy's troubles with relocating. Well, there's a blog out there. It was in Colorado where she tried to get a job at a university, and I guess somebody spoke out and wrote about it and said they didn't want to hire a named co-conspirator. Oh, the woman that came to Jane McPherson, Millie? Could have been. Yeah. Yeah, Jane McPherson. Lord, that woman. Yeah, she got the heck out of Tallahassee, too. Julia, yeah, weird to brag mom was too thin for Weight Watchers. I would love to talk to those ladies that did that writing workshop. Like, what do you think about it all now? Sarah says, Tamara said her and Dan would get together as a couple after the divorce was final and some time had passed. Dan wanted more children. And she converted to Judaism. Oh, Ariel, so happy that you're here. Sir Dedrick, Wendy's Fibber picture. It's different now, isn't it? That's like my favorite thing to say. Truth Seeker. Oh, I understand. Thank you. Julia, interesting. Dan was being courted by Vanderbilt Law. My goodness. I didn't know that. All right. Back to Katie Magbanua. Oh, let me finish here with Wendi. She said, seeing Wendi in court brought back the devastation we felt when she changed the names of Benjamin and Lincoln from Markel to Adelson. At the trial, I was seated on the inside of the aisle and never made eye contact with Wendi. Then Katherine Magbanua. She says, in a move that surprised many, Magbanua appeared on the witness stand on October 9th, 2019, and denied any involvement in the murder. One of the more interesting statements she made was when she was asked if she believed that Charlie was involved in the murder. She answered affirmatively, based on everything she had seen and heard at the trial. It turns out that her testimony was on Dan's birthday and the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Then she talks about Yendra Mascaro. We've seen her testify. And she said that was significant because she babysat Magbanua's children that day, July 2014. And then she was also explaining like the cash that they earned as bottle girls. Have y'all ever looked up those clubs? I mean, they look gross. I don't think there was ever that kind of money. Ruth says, money was very relevant in this case. And on day 6, there was a serious review of the Follow the Money story with Mary Hull. Her testimony provided a glimpse into the money trail and connection. Hull's review included Magbanua, Rivera, Garcia, the Adelson Institute, Charlie Adelson, Harvey and Donna Adelson, and Charlie's independent traveling dental practice. She talks about June Mchenda. She said that she provided the insight into how Charlie accumulated cash and stapled his cash, an uncommon practice to be sure. And yet stapled money is how Rivera claims he was paid. Yeah. Can you imagine when they put all that together? Mchenda appeared more hesitant to divulge details and admitted to the jury that she and Charlie had been talking again as recently as the night right before her testimony began. I had forgotten that when they asked that, she had just talked to Charlie on the phone, which they knew. So I'm sure they were listening to his calls, like very, real time during a trial. Mchenda also shared how Charlie had been unusually upset and distracted around the time of the bump. Hey, Heather, cracks me up how Southerners pronounce lawyers as liars. Well, I mean, I don't. Lawyers, liars. I mean, I guess it depends where. I mean, Tennessee, there's different dialect. There's very much East Tennessee and there's Middle Tennessee. Oh, Julie, I didn't know that. Tamara Demko said recently she didn't convert, that it was Dave Ehrenberg that said that. Oh, okay. I figured he would have known, but good to know. John Smith, Wendi would have a hard time saying, do you want fries with that? Patty N, I read that a lawyer hired Wendi, then the partners found out and said, absolutely not. Oh, wasn't that the Cohen guy down in Miami? They had to vote on it or something. Julia, Wendi and Donna could get buy one, get two Weight Watchers special. That's funny. Yeah, Ruth's very smart. Yes, remember Ruth said Donna was causing conflict in Dan and Wendy's marriage. Coercive control is a crime. Apparently, mashed potatoes and spaghetti cause weight gain. Yeah. John Smith, I'd like to see an up-to-date photo of Donna now. Jail wasn't kind to her. Wonder if prison's any better. Probably not. I wonder if she started coloring her hair in prison, because then you can buy all that stuff with commissary. Sir Tedrick Walker. Next level, psychopathic evil. Changing the name of the Markel boys. Pure evil. And psychos never stop hating, in my opinion. All because she was a dumb lawyer who I think filled false financials to court. Yeah. Yeah, Rebecca, I don't say liars. I mean, sometimes. Yeah, I think she was. I think Tamara was on the Ehrenberg show. I think on SDS too. Oh, Marcia, you're reading Extreme Punishment. I was thinking we might do that one next because I'm really avoiding, whose book. According to the book I'm reading currently, Extreme Punishment by Stephen Epstein, the writer wrote that the job offer in Florida, I think it was Miami, that they wanted him but didn't want Wendi. Yeah. Yeah, they don't get the bonsai pasta or whatever it's called, bonza pasta in prison that's made from chickpeas. Thank you, Rebecca. Colorado University wouldn't hire Wendi due to her reputation. My Southern ex didn't say lawyer. Okay. All right. Where were we? Junam Chenda. Then she goes into Oscar, the FBI agent, how he was undercover, just explains all that, which we all already know. She said, our family was already in pain and I was traumatized by the murder. Facing law enforcement, the judge, the prosecutor, and Magbanua's team at the trial, and now the jury, was unthinkable. The trial came after years of waiting. My turn at the witness stand gave me a chance to voice my pain and struggle since Dan's murder. She says, I'm still struck that as a victim, you have few opportunities to alter the slow pace of the court system. With all the delays and challenges, justice does not come fast. So I made that really bold there because I think that is a great quote. Justice does not come fast. And I know all of us are all very frustrated, but let's think about them. Yeah. Sir Tedrick Walker. What upscale lawyer firm wants an unindicted co-conspirator to her ex-husband? Yeah. Wendi Joan. Hi. I always wonder if and when those boys will figure out what really happened. I'm also obsessed because we know the truth. Doesn't anyone paying attention know the truth? Yeah, I agree. Julia, John, just say barrister. All right. So this is the last slide. So on the Monday of Garcia's sentencing, which is the same day as the death penalty was deliberated, I read my victim impact statement facing the court, my family, the jury, and the media, which I've played that before a couple times, so y'all can see that. And then she says, some people on social media made comments saying that I was cueing the jury to choose a life sentence for Garcia rather than the death penalty, but I was not. She said after the trial and the death penalty sentencing ended, Shelley and Phil were able to catch a flight on Tuesday, October the 15th and return to Toronto. She said, I needed more time. I left the next day. There was too much unfinished business and I needed to remain sturdy to see the job through. So. Yeah, Marcia, extreme punishment is awesome. And this guy says what a good man he was and how he was with his boys. He tells how Wendi with her mom was going through a Jewish dating app and Donna got excited on Dan's. Yeah. Armand, you wonder what Phil said in his impact statement? I can play that. It was just basically like, oh, Dan is not a bad person. Let's see if y'all want me to. It was bad audio at Charlie Adelson's sentencing. So Justice for Dan's done. Lots of people have done it, actually. Here, I'll play this. I love Phil Markel.
Everyone, I'm reading this victim impact statement as I did at the end of Charlie's trial. There were some technical problems with the original video portion of the recording, and the audio was not very clear. So I'm doing this so that one day my two grandchildren, Ben and Lincoln, can watch and listen to this victim impact statement on behalf of our Markel family. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Phil Markel. I'm Dan Markel's father. Dan, my only son, was born on October 9th, 1972 in Montreal, Quebec. During that time in Quebec, husbands were not allowed to actually be in the delivery room during the child's birth. However, since the obstetrician was a close friend of ours, I was allowed to experience the most amazing moments, the birth of my son. I will never forget the emergence of his head and then the shoulders of an NFL fullback, a boy of 10 pounds. There I was holding in my arms this gift of life, a bundle, my bundle of sheer joy. From the time he was a child, my son had tremendous energy, intelligence, and great warmth. Dan had a vibrant, fun-loving personality, and he lived life to the fullest. Dan loved to socialize, dance, cook, entertain, and play sports, and he dedicated himself wholeheartedly to everything that he did. He would always look to do his utmost to improve and achieve better results in every activity he participated in. The desire of improvement and commitment to excellence was a defining characteristic of his short life. I fondly remember Dan taking skiing, I fondly remember taking Danny skiing up the hills in the Laurentian Mountains where we lived when he was 2 years old. He rode up the mountain between my legs, holding on to the T-bar, and then coming down the hill, yelling with great joy, "Faster, Daddy, faster!" Then, as he grew a little older and he played hockey at the local parks, to improve his skating skills, he requested to take skating lessons with a local coach from Russia, who had this reputation of being a very tough coach. Dan persevered, and after every hockey lesson, he came off the ice with a red face and totally out of breath, because he always gave it his all. At about the age of 13, Dan developed the idea that he was going to Harvard University. He discovered that the acceptance requirements for Harvard were not only good grades, but also work for the community and do charitable work. To achieve these goals, he revived his high school newspaper, became the newspaper's editor and business manager. He performed charitable deeds. He volunteered in the community. And after years of hard work and determination, Danny was accepted to Harvard. Dan later graduated from Harvard magna cum laude. He went on to study at Hebrew University in Jerusalem for 1 year, and then he earned a Master's of Philosophy and Political Theory from Emmanuel College at the University of Cambridge in England. He returned afterwards to Harvard Law School to earn his law degree and went on to become an extremely successful lawyer and influential legal scholar. Dan served as a law clerk for a federal judge. He worked as an associate at a prestigious law firm in Washington, D.C., and then he secured a prestigious teaching position at FSU College of Law. In just a few short years, Dan became full tenured law professor before the age of 41. He co-authored a book and published many articles in highly regarded law reviews, journals, and newspapers like the New York Times. Dan's work was influential, and he gave lectures and presented at universities all around the world. Although Dan was fond of his Canadian roots, he was very dedicated to the FSU Law School and the Tallahassee community. He was recognized as a scholar who contributed and made a difference in this world. While Dan's career was important to him, family meant everything to Danny. His marriage produced 2 boys, Benjamin and Lincoln, who were his absolute world, the loves of his life. Dan arranged his entire life around these 2 boys. He would arrange his teaching schedule, travel plans, exercise, activities all around his desire to spend as much time as possible with the 2 boys. He would meet them for breakfast at their preschool. He would sit in the middle of a circle with Benjamin and Lincoln and all their classmates and tell them stories, read, sing songs, all this as they ate breakfast. Benjamin and Lincoln were his pride and joy and meant everything to him. Danny made sure that he and the boys came to Montreal and Toronto to attend every family function and affair and visit with all the extended Markel family, including grandparents, uncles, aunts, and many numerous cousins. Despite the distance, Dan felt that the boys had to know and be a part of this family. Dan also made sure that he and the boys participated in the Tallahassee community and were involved with the local synagogue and neighborhood. Danny left home at the young age of 17 to go to Harvard, but he always came home for summer vacation, for holidays, and all family functions. Danny and I, despite the fact that we lived quite far apart, regularly communicated by text, email, and phone calls. And despite the physical distance, as time moved on, we grew ever more closer. At Dan's suggestion, we would talk and have a meal together. At the appointed day and time, we each would prepare our meals, set our tables, and with a tablet in the middle, over Skype, we would sit together and enjoy each other's company for a couple of hours despite the actual distance. Dan's life was abruptly cut short, and he was forever taken from me, from his boys, and the rest of our family, and all his many friends and colleagues. My life has been in a total disarray since Danny's murder. Many nights I wake up in the middle of the night in a terrible sweat with thoughts of Dan's murder and all that has happened. There is not a single day in my life since Danny's death that in one way or another he does not enter my thoughts, and I miss him with all my heart. I'm constantly reminded of Dan's murder and his absence. When I meet new people, the topic of discussion always comes up, and they ask whether I have children. How do I respond? It's difficult to put into words the heinous acts that Dan took away from us and the unthinkable pain that I must live with every single day. Losing a son or a daughter is something I wish nobody should have to experience. It is not in the order of nature. Danny is never coming back. We continue to hope and pray for justice, the return to normalcy of seeing and playing a vital role in the lives of our 2 grandsons, Benjamin and Lincoln. It's been a number of years since I last wrote a victim impact statement, sharing how Danny's death has affected me. Despite our persistent efforts, we still do not have a real relationship with Danny's sons, Ben and Lincoln. Visits are very limited and carefully controlled. For 6 years, we were denied any and all visits with the boys or any communication whatsoever. In the last 2 years, I've permitted 2 60 to 90-minute supervised visits with them. This limited contact is incredibly painful, and I feel like we have been cut out of their lives. Not only have I lost my son, but I have effectively lost 2 of my grandkids as well. Even their family names have been changed from Markel to Adelson. While we worked hard to help introduce a new bill in the state of Florida, known as the Markel Act, this gives grandparents important rights. But unfortunately, our relationship with Ben and Lincoln has not been materially improved. As this bill was coming to fruition, there was a lot of negative publicity in the press and media about Dan's ex-wife, Wendi. In my opinion, Wendi was focused on improving her public image, and as a result, extended an invitation to Benjamin's bar mitzvah. Ruth and I were invited to attend only the ceremonial part of this important stage of a Jewish boy's life, and we were not invited to participate in any reception typical of this type of celebration. But this invitation opened the door to one of the last limited visits described above. In order not to overwhelm Ben and Lincoln on this important day, we asked to arrange a meeting for the bar mitzvah, before the bar mitzvah, in order to make things easier on the boys, who we haven't been allowed to visit in years. We were able to arrange a brief 90-minute supervised visit with Ben and Lincoln a few weeks before the bar mitzvah. However, immediately after our brief visit, Charlie was arrested, and Wendi rescinded our invitation to this bar mitzvah. At the time, she said that they were going to either postpone or completely cancel the bar mitzvah, but neither of these things happened. Instead, my understanding is the Adelsons went on to have the bar mitzvah ceremony and the party, all without the Markel family's presence or participation. Missing out on this important moment in Ben's life was incredibly painful. After so many years without Danny, we had hoped to make progress in forging a consistent relationship with his sons, but this still has many challenges. This is the year that Lincoln turned 13, the age of bar mitzvah. As yet, we have not been informed if and when he will have a bar mitzvah, nor if we will be invited to participate in this very important time of Lincoln's life. I have very little hope that we will be allowed to participate. This important cycle event. Danny's murder brought his life abruptly to an end for no sensible reason, and has affected a countless number of people. The legal community is deprived of Dan's wisdom and ideas, which made the world a better place. Dan's students are deprived of experience of having Dan as a brilliant professor and caring mentor, showing them a path to their future. Dan's colleagues can no longer benefit from his friendship, his insights, his scholarly discussions, and debates. Ruth and I have been deprived of our son, who was taken away from us so suddenly and totally against life's schedule. Ben and Lincoln must go through life without their father, who loved them with all his being. The boys have been deprived of their father's entire family. After Dan's murder, we have no idea of what these two boys know or have been told about Danny's death. I truly believe they've been brainwashed in all these years from the ages of 3 and 4 years of age to the present day. I also have no idea what the boys know of us, the Markel family, any history, and especially how much we all love them and how we wish they were an active part of our family. Both Ruth and I are approaching 80 years of age. At this moment, we are healthy, but one does not know what tomorrow brings. The wheels of justice turn very, very slowly, but so far, at least, they are still turning. We are very, very grateful to the Tallahassee law enforcement, to the state attorney, and all their staff, to all our relatives and friends, including the hundreds of Danny's friends and colleagues around the world, for their constant support over these long 10 years. To all the podcasters who work so hard to keep alive this unbelievable story. We are still waiting for Benjamin and Lincoln to have a more normal relationship with the Markel family, as we wait in pain and true anguish. The Adelson family, in particularly Charlie Adelson, has been a major cause of our heartbreak and the murder of our son, Danny, and the loss of our 2 grandsons. I have suffered tremendously, and we as a family continue to suffer. It is satisfying to see justice being done, and it would be appropriate to ask the maximum sentence for the perpetrators of Danny's murder. Thank you. Today is a good day.
If any of y'all hadn't seen that, I'm glad y'all could see that, because I think says it perfectly. Yeah, I feel so bad for him. But we have completed chapter 6, and chapter 7 is next week. But yeah, y'all can go. That, I think the Steinbecks, I think John Steinbeck is originally who filmed that for him. I don't know if he did or not, but it's on the Justice for Dan Markel YouTube channel. You can just type in Phil Markel, Victim Impact, Charlie Adelson. They are class acts. I agree. You hadn't seen it. Now you see why Sarah was affected. Yeah, because we don't know we know that she had claimed that, Dan was abusive and all this. And then you see and hear his dad talk about him, and what a good son he was too. That speaks a lot to his character. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy that y'all had not seen it and we could share that all together. His and Ruth's at Donna's trial were very poignant as well. Oh yeah. The 120-year thing, I say that about every all kinds of comments with criminals now. You're welcome, Wendi Joan. Neverly says, more power to Phil for delivering his message without sounding petty. Rescinding the bar mitzvah invite tracks with Wendy's vindictive, sadistic persona. Yep. Oh, thank you, Juliet. Phil stated he's not satisfied until all involved are brought to justice. Sir Tedrick, I read this book a few years ago, so I really like you doing it chapter by chapter. Me too. We can just take time on it. So, but yeah, I'll look forward to it. I know next weekend is Memorial Weekend. But you like my sound? So I took a shower before the live and I blew my hair out, so it's all very fresh, but it'll look different after I sleep on it tonight. I only wash my hair every few days because it's really thick, and I I just don't like doing it in the mornings. Then I get hot. And if I start out the day hot, it is just not good. But thank you, Neverly. All right. Oh, Truth Seeker. When he said no parent should lose a child hurt from a dad, Leslie and all other parents who've lost their children. Thank you. And, I just think about the Markels, though. Awful. They lose their son and then their grandchildren, essentially. I mean, that is the cruelest thing I've ever heard. Purple shampoo. Oh, thank y'all. Purple shampoo. I know it's actually like too light. I have a hair appointment this Friday, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want a fresh cut right before CrimeCon, I don't know. Purple shampoo all the way. Yeah. Yeah. Was it worth it? Yes, agree. But thank y'all so much. So I will talk with y'all soon and let me know. Remember, email me if you want a personalized autograph book from Ruth and she'll send it directly to you. Just let me know. Good night.
Like and subscribe because every case has more to the story. I'm Leslie B.